Hello, everybody. Ed Thompson, back at you. I'm on the road this week. Where, you may ask? Beautiful low country of South Carolina. Down visiting family, and let me just say, I like this traveling and wondering where I'll be next. Folks, past few weeks since the inception of this Y Blast, we have actually touched on three major words that you all are getting to know. Number one, connections. Number two, relationships. And today we're going to delve even a little deeper into discipling. Folks, it is beautiful when I think about wanting to connect with people, but not so beautiful when I think about the work involved. In other words, you may risk and you may not get the reward you want. You may give a whole lot more than you get back. And I'm finding that in my own life, but I also want to be intentional to do it anyway. And when I do it anyway, I find that intentionality can be a very good thing. For instance, I ate well this morning. I'm reading a book that I love. I'm traveling to beautiful places. Not much intentionality there, I just love doing it. So I want to try to get more into relationship with God, relationship with one another, and even relationship with Ed. These three relationships are where we're going to go today, and I want to just move into something that happened this week that was really neat. I was watching Kelly Clarkson, and she was on Wednesday at 4 o'clock, and her show was on the very thing we're talking about, connections. Listen to this. A lady walks out of a shop. She sees a homeless young man. She walks over, befriends him, connects to him by giving him a little money. Then she takes her phone out and said, "Would you call your mom just to let her know you're okay?" He did that. It went very well. The mom said, "I'm not in town," so she didn't ask him back that day. So he went home and lived with the lady and her husband who gave him the money. And after a few days, mom got back where he lived and he went home to her. Here's the neat part, folks, if that's not neat enough. The two ladies had never met each other face to face. Well, that day Kelly Clarkson got them together, and the hugging and the crying and the connecting was out of this world. And then he comes out and it just made it even more so. So I'm going to read you about 3 or 4 lines from her new song called "I Dare You to Love." And just listen to this. It says, "Every heart you know seems old and hardened. You may not have the stage, but you still have a voice. You may not have the strength, but you still have a choice. I dare you to love. I dare you to love." We're all full of hope, trying to stay afloat, trying to save one another. People are going to let you down because they don't know how to stay above the water. And then listen to this, final thing I'll read you. When they're too broken to know what they put you through, the only thing to do is to do what you want them to do for you. Now that will preach, and that comes out of a golden rule in the Bible. But it's just beautiful that she finishes up, "I dare you to love. I dare you to love." Now I'm going to finish up with a story from the great disciple maker himself. We're calling him the great connector, Jesus Christ. He meets a lawyer. The lawyer's a little high and mighty. Jesus tells him to love his neighbor as he loves himself. He gets a little feisty, the lawyer does, and says, "Well, who's my neighbor?" Jesus tells this story. 3 men were walking to Jericho. A priest, a Levite, and then a Samaritan. They weren't together. In fact, they all came separately. The priest walked by a man who had been beaten almost to death and made sure he went around him. The Levite did the very same thing. No time for him, I'm going around. Well, the Samaritan had other ideas. He helped him. He put wine and oil on his wounds. He put him on his own donkey, took him into Jericho, stayed the night with him in an inn, And then the next day told the innkeeper, whatever I owe you, I'll be back tomorrow and pay you in full. Jesus ends up looking at the lawyer and saying, which of those three acted most like the neighbor? And the lawyer said, well, I guess the one that showed compassion. And Jesus said, exactly. Now you go and do likewise. So with that story of the Good Samaritan, think of that lady who gave the money to the young man, got him cleaned up, and shot him back over to Mom. And now Mom and that lady are best friends. They're like sisters. Don't live in the same town, but I'll bet they feel like they do. I'm going to close down now, folks, and say, you haven't seen the last of the Low Country. I hope to do a few more of these wonderful Y blasts. But I'm going to let you go now and say the surf is definitely up, and the waves, you may not see them, but we're going to cause some sooner or later. Have a great week. Love you all, and goodbye.